Right now we're going to look at the examples in 1.11. So we're going to start on page 39 and we're looking at example 1, and it says to solve Einstein's formula E equals mc squared for m. Now notice this formula has no numbers in it. So what you're going to be doing is you're going to be solving equations, and they're really formulas where you would be plugging numbers in and solving for another number. But for this one, what we're trying to do is we're just trying to rearrange the formula to maybe solve for something else. Maybe we don't want the formula for the E, we want to get the M by itself or the C by itself or something like that. So in this one, we're trying to get the M by itself. So if you had a formula or an equation and you had something on the other side next to a variable, you would divide by that number on both sides to get rid of it. So in this one, since we have the m over here and it's against this c squared, we would divide by the c squared in order to get the m by itself. And that's our only goal, is to solve for the variable that they're asking us to solve for. Once it's by itself, we don't have to worry about anything else. So if the formula is multiplication, we would divide to get rid of it. If it's addition, we would subtract. We're always trying to undo something. So we follow those order of operations, and we do the same things that we would do if there were numbers in them. So if we look at example 2, it says there's a formula relating acceleration, velocity, initial velocity, and time. And this is the formula. V equals V sub O, and when you see a subscript like that, this is telling you that these two V's are different variables. It's just like if we had labeled them X and Y. So when you have a subscript on one, it's telling you it's a different variable. So we have V sub O plus AT, and it wants us to solve for T. So think about this. If you had variables and you were trying to get that m by itself, you would need to first move this y to the other side. So we would do that in the variables that we have now. We would move this v sub o to the other side by subtracting. Remember, if you pick something up and move it to the other side, it changes its sign. So we would be subtracting. And now I have a variable up against another one. So this is multiplication. And if I want to get rid of the a so that I have the t, I would divide both sides by a. Now again, our goal is to get t by itself, and t is by itself. So this is our answer. This is all we're looking for. V minus v sub o divided by a equals t. That's it. That's all we're looking for. Let's look at another one. Let's look at example 3. It says W equals L times script W, a small lowercase w, L, plus 2p all over 8. And it wants us to solve for p, and p is inside these parentheses, so we're going to have to peel away the rest of the layers. This is all divided by 8, so in order to get rid of that 8, we would need to multiply by 8. So if I multiply by both sides by 8, it makes the 8 cancel on this side, and I have the 8 on the other side. I've still got to pull this p out in some way. So what I want to do first is try to get this L out of the way, so that I can get that p out of the inside of the parentheses. So I'm going to divide by that L and make it come out. So if I divide by L, it's gone on that side. And on the right, I still have this, but I don't have anything inside the parentheses anymore. I'm still trying to isolate this, so I need to subtract this piece to get it to the other side. This is a big W. Let's make the difference in that. And now I have the 2 up against the p, and I'm trying to get the p by itself. So I'm going to divide both sides by 2. Now this looks a little weird, but our goal was to get the P by itself, and that's okay. It's okay for it to look like that, for it to be there like that. If you look at what they've done in the book, let me show you another way this could look. And this is going to drive some of you crazy that my answer that I have here could be different from what's in the back of the book. But this is what they do in your book. They start out the same way that we did. So they multiply both sides by 8. So that's where we had this 8 down here on the bottom. We multiply this side by 8 and we multiply this side by 8. So it makes it cancel on this side. And they give us this. Now, what they do here, instead of approaching it the way that I did, is they go ahead and they multiply the L through. Now remember, when I did this, I divided by the L. So they're going to distribute this L, and we're going to get WL squared, because L times L is L squared, and L times this one. And we're still trying to get the P by itself, so we need to isolate this part. So we're going to bring this WL over, WL squared over. And then we're going to divide by the 2 and the L. And this is the answer that they get in the book. The two ways of approaching this are both fine. It's okay to do both of those things. Notice that in mine, if I had multiplied both the top and the bottom by this L, and remember in algebra, as long as we do the top and the bottom, that's equivalent to 1. So if I'd multiplied this whole thing by L and this whole thing by L, this would have canceled, and I would have gotten 8W minus WL squared, because L times L squared, if I distributed, that would have been the L squared, and on the bottom I would have gotten 2L. That's exactly what the book got. So this one that I got is just a different form of what they got in the book. So this part's going to probably upset some of you in that you're going to get an answer and you're going to flip to the back of the book, and yours is going to be slightly different from what they have. The next example has groupings in it. So let's take a look at that one. It says V equals V sub O times 1 plus little b times t minus t sub o. And the way groupings work is you look at the innermost grouping first. We're trying, in this case, it tells us that it wants us to solve for, let's see which one it's asking us for t. And so here's my t that I'm trying to find. So I've got to peel away all these layers until I get to that t. So the way your book approaches this is on both of the problems, the previous one and on this one, they go ahead and distribute everything. So the first thing that they do is they distribute this one inside the parentheses, and so they simplify like this. They distribute that b to both of these. So anytime they have parentheses, what they're doing is they're distributing everything first before they do any sort of division. And then they distribute this one. So V sub O times 1 is V sub O. V sub O times BT is V sub O BT. And then V sub O BT sub O. And we're still trying to isolate this one, trying to get that t by itself. So they move this one over and this one over. So we'll have V minus V sub O because it was a plus. We're going to bring this one over, and it was a minus, so when I bring it over, it will be a plus. And then I'm trying to get t by itself, so I'm going to divide by v sub ob. And this is what they end up with for their answer. Because remember, our goal is just to get t by itself. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to get one single variable by itself. And once you get it that way, as long as it's an equivalent format, your answer is perfectly correct. So you're going to want to check the answers in the back of the book, but if you have trouble, make sure that you contact me.